Hello, besties and bosses. Let me make sure this is pulling up in the group because it's giving me a very different view than usual. I feel like they're always changing things here, and I want to make sure that I can see you because I've got a good conversation for us today. Let me just see. Can I see myself? Also, just riding high today. I almost cried on a morning call. Y'all get you some clients who have aligned values with you and who send you crying tear emojis and who celebrate with you even when they don't live in the US when there are political wins. I'm a very proud New Yorker today. We had a mayoral election here that I think is great, and we had some great elections across the country. And I know we've still got a lot of work to do, but I'm gonna ride that win. But I had a client call this morning, a client who lives in Canada, and the first thing she did was celebrate with me. And so I feel like that's just something we don't talk about enough. I just wrote a post about this, and then I'll talk about our topic today. I do not need my clients to think the way I do. I don't want to live in an echo chamber. I don't need to be right. I don't want my clients to have the same business model as me unless they want to, have the same strategy, do the same thing as me. I'm not trying to create mini me's with my clients. I have, I'm very open to different perspectives. If you've ever read Adam Grant's book, Think Again, I'm really big on the power of questioning our thoughts and having different perspectives and thinking again, and having aligned values and knowing the heart and having hearts that are aligned with the people on your team, with the coach you hire. My coach this morning sent me a message with also happy tear emotions over the election. Having clients who share your values and heart, not that they have to all think exactly like you, really does make such a big difference in how you feel in your business and how you do work. I know my OBM, we spend a lot of calls talking about what's going on in the world before we dive into stuff. I know that's what I bring to my coach. I know that's what a lot of clients bring to me. I think it really does make a difference. So not that everybody has to be super political, and again, not that everybody has to think exactly the same way, but I think values, you can have different viewpoints and different beliefs and choose to think differently and have different business models and offers, but when your values and heart is aligned with the people you work with, it really does make such a big difference. Anyway, it just feels like still got lots of work to do. We're still in the shutdown. We've still got a lot of fucking things that are wrong, but that feels like a W. I'm riding that high. But let's also talk about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why the old rules of marketing don't work anymore, and 2 big shifts to keep making 10K to 100K months on what I'm talking about with my clients. Before we dive into that, I do have a brand new free masterclass coming up on the 19th that I am so excited to share with y'all. We do masterclasses all the time, but a lot of them are, I update past ones, which I love as well. This is a brand new one. It is very relevant to what is going on in our world right now. I am so excited to share it with you. I feel like it is the crux of what I coach clients on and what I believe in fundamentally as business, but it feels particularly important right now because we're seeing reach go down across the board. We are seeing the effects of AI. We have the trust recession, and I think that is just spinning a lot of us out. What I'm talking about in today's live is not what I'm talking about in the masterclass, but I mean, it's all just talking about like the shifts in marketing. And I know, if we just had whatever's going on with Instagram, I was just sharing this with a client. If you look at my last couple of reels, it is hilarious how poorly they are performing, and I still have made 80K cash in the last 2 months. My business is still thriving. My clients are still thriving. So I am very excited to invite you to join me for a new masterclass called Social Currency, because what I have seen is there is a type of currency in business we do not talk about enough, and it is something I've been implementing in my business for 10 years without even realizing it. And it is not followers, it is not views, and it has helped me to not just make 80K cash in the last 2 months, but it's helped me to make we're getting close to 1.9, but about 1.8.5 million in my business lifetime. I've been able to grow my revenue by 23% this year, despite the fact that, let's say, my reach is trash right now. It's also not ads, so just to be really clear on that. So if you would like to join me for free, I will drop a link. I'm going to share the approach that buys you attention, trust, loyalty, and retention, and it works to make money and clients right now. It's a timeless approach. It works really well. It works for any strategy. It works for any business model. It is what I coach all of my clients around. It is why my clients get great results. And if you sign up and you show up live, because I want you to be there live, because I know otherwise you will sign up and that class will sit in your inbox and you will not get the benefit of it. If you show up live and stay till the end, I'm also giving away a bonus, my collab template, and a personal outreach script that I've personally used to make an extra $41,150 with 36 DMs. So I think those are pretty juicy bonuses. I would show up for those alone if it were me, but I think it's going to be a really great class, and I'm very excited to have you. All right. I just had to announce that first because I've been not doing a great job talking about that. I'll drop a link for that. Please, please, please come join me. It's completely free. I love doing our lives. I love doing our masterclasses even more. But let's now talk about the new rules in marketing. I did bring up some notes here. So I think this is a conversation we've been having all year, but I wanted to break down 2 specific shifts that I'm coaching clients around. If you had come to me as a client of mine and said that you were struggling to bring in leads, or your marketing wasn't working, or you weren't making consistent sales, even a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I would have looked at 2 things first. I would have looked at how often are you posting, and I would have looked at how often are you selling directly. I probably would have pulled up your social media. I probably would have scrolled through and be like, oh, well, like, here's a really great opportunity. Like, I just don't see where you're selling. Or, oh, like, this is a really great opportunity. We're just not posting enough, right? I would have not made anyone wrong, but like, these are just 2, before diving into anything else, just 2 easy, low-hanging fruit places I would have looked at and that I probably would have coached around, because a couple of years ago, I mean, up to, but definitely during the pandemic time, what we saw is the rules then were very clear. More content equaled more reach, equaled more leads, equaled more clients, right? It was just sort of like pump out more and get more. I mean, like, they're really, not that you didn't have to have any quality, but I remember during the pandemic and right after, like, it really was just how much can we, like, how visible can you get? And you get visible by just putting out as much as possible. And I would literally, I'm sure I have live streams on here. This is why I think one-on-one coaching is so invaluable as opposed to like being in like a program that doesn't get updated a lot, because things shift, and I know things shift so quickly right now, and things I might have even said 3 months ago might not be what I'm saying to clients today. Literally, even things I'm saying around content edits are different today than they were a couple months ago. But what I used to definitely say to clients is, and there's still an element of truth to this, but it's just changed. There's just nuance around it. I would also just say, if you want to sell more, sell more. So if I didn't see a lot of promo posts in their feed, I'd be like, well, if you want to sell more, you just need to go out and sell more. Like, that was just kind of the rules that were at play. And so it is nuanced, but what I have seen is that the rules have really changed, and it is no longer simply just, if you like post more, if you want to get seen more, post more, and it's no longer if you want to sell more, just directly sell more. I think, you know, we have had this conversation all year long. What worked in 2019, 2020, even in 2024 is not what works in 2025, definitely as we're going into 2026. And the advice of just post more, just sell more, I think is actually really frustrating, because a lot of, I talk with clients about this all the time, a lot of us can be doing that, right? You might be doing that, and then it's like, I don't understand. I'm working so hard. I am posting more. I am selling more. Why is this not working? And I think that's when we fall into stories that there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my business. People don't like what I'm doing. When really what's happened is the rules have just changed a little bit. And I don't like rules. Maybe rules aren't the best word. I'm a big, like, let's break the rules. But what is working, what people are responding to as a whole, it doesn't mean these things don't work, right? Like, there are outliers to every situation, but as a whole, what people are responding to has just shifted, because as a whole, we have all shifted. The online community has shifted. AI has come into play. There is a trust recession. It is more crowded than ever. The world is on fire. Like, there are just things that have shifted, which that will always just be the case. I think we get so frustrated in the online space around this, and we get so mad. It's one of the reasons I want to do this masterclass, because I think it's just so easy for us to get mad at the algorithm, get mad at like the things we have to do, and get mad at things changing. And I think we forget as business owners, and I'm not going to win points for this, but it is just so true. I mean, it's the saying, the only constant is change. In business, the only constant is change. Businesses are always changing. Markets are always changing. Landscaping is always changing. And so, yes, you can pick and stick a strategy, absolutely. But we also have to be willing to pay attention to the shifts within our market, within our industry, and constantly be adapting, evolving. And so, as much as we want to stick with something, we also have to be available to take that bigger scope lens and to make those shifts. Hopefully that's a little bit of both, and hopefully that makes sense. As I'm walking through this, by the way, please say hi. Let me know if you're here. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know what you've noticed as well. So that is kind of how the way things work. What I want to talk about today is I'm just going to talk through what the two shifts, like the two new rules, we'll call that I'm seeing, that I'm coaching clients around. I'll share three things that you probably already do well, just to make this easy, and then I'll just give you some specifics around. These are all micro shifts, right? It's not like stop posting on social media. My reach is down. My social media still works for me really, really well. So it's nothing like crazy. It's just different ways to think about this so you can get more out of what you're doing. So okay, no questions. The first rule that I think we have to shift is, hold on a second. I feel like I wanted to say one other thing here. I did want to say one other thing. Okay, don't mind me. I just have notes here. I don't always make notes, and when I have notes, I feel like these are important things to say because these are the three things that you already do well. Let's just talk about the two outdated rules for a second a little bit more. So in terms of why more content doesn't work anymore just to get more reach and more clients, I think we have to understand that social media was already really crowded. And as social media got crowded, algorithms change. Not because the algorithm is out to get you, but the algorithms on any platform are designed to keep us on the platform, to help us enjoy the platform, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're designed for the different platforms to make money as well. But the way they make money is by keeping us on the platforms so that they can also put ads through those platforms, right? That there's enough people on there, which means they have to adapt the algorithm to what you and I want. We kind of dictate the algorithm. So when we get mad at the algorithm shifting, I get why it's frustrating because it means we have to shift what we're doing. But I think there's also something in that is a reminder that if it is shifting because as a whole, we are saying we want something different. And in that way, it is really helpful information for us. And so if we know that in the past, like it's gotten more busy online, it's gotten more crowded, but also AI can pump out so much content, right? I don't even know what the numbers are. AI could make a gazillion posts to my 5. Let's say I could make 5 in a day. If I just sat there and wrote content all day, I don't know, maybe I could write 20, right? But AI could it can just endlessly create content. And a lot of people, I'm not saying it's good, but a lot of people are flooding the feed with even more content because of AI, right? So it's just more and more crowded than ever. And so when that happens, and I always think of the social media like a highway. If we had a highway before where like it was a busy highway and now all of these cars got on the highway and now all of these cars have endless amounts of cars on the on-ramp that they're trying to put on, right? We have a traffic jam. So we have to have an algorithm that can sift through and decide what are we going to put in front of people, because otherwise we literally just have a standstill. It's not because the algorithm's trying to be a jerk. It's that we are just cramming more cars onto that on-ramp. It's crowded already, but thanks mostly to AI. And because of all of this, we are also consuming in a different way. I think we got really burnt out on certain types of content. It was a very different time when we were all sitting at home with nothing to do versus what is happening in 2025 when the world is on fire, right? Like it is just a very, very different time. So all of these factors come into play where I think what we have to see is literally pumping more content out isn't the thing that's going to get you more reach and visibility, because maybe in the past when there wasn't enough content, right, the feed could just put everything in an order. There was enough room on the highway. Literally, you can pump out more and more, and if you don't have the right things, you're just going to get stuck on that on-ramp. And your content will literally never get seen. So you can spend all day with AI or by yourself and your stuff will never get seen, right? So that is no longer the solution. If you can't even get onto the highway, right? Like that isn't the solution. Hopefully that analogy is tracking. And so what matters so much more is less how much you post, right? If you post 3 times a day, like some people, do people still teach that? Let's say you post 3 times a day because some people are teaching that, but those 3 posts get seen by 10 people and they're not the right people, or one of them blows up and goes viral but gets seen by the wrong people. I have gone viral for my account. I've had a post with, my Instagram account is about 8,000 followers. We've had a post have over 500,000 views, which is viral for my account. It literally did 0 for my business. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going viral. I'm not saying there can't be a benefit. I'm not saying that I got hundreds and hundreds of new followers from that like one of them couldn't be a business owner and hire me. But I think we forget that even if you go viral, that is not the thing that necessarily is going to lead to a sale. But if you have content that is getting seen by just a handful of people, right? And you just create more and more, and it's only getting seen by the same 3 to 10 to 20 people. The math does not math there, right? Whereas in the past, because the algorithm was different, you could crank out more and more people would see it, right? It would give you more reach, and so that would translate to leads and sales. Is this making, I feel like this is very obvious, but also sometimes this can be confusing. So this is why just pumping out more content doesn't make sense. And what I see when we're frustrated with reach and not getting leads, especially for my high achievers and for my people, if you are someone like me, and when we don't know what to do, we tend to just either abandon ship completely and say, well, fuck this doesn't work, right? We want to do something different, and that's not the solution. Or we tend to just do more and more of the same. I do think this is why coaching is invaluable, right? Because it's just sometimes hard for us to see, but we just tend to double down. Like I was just talking about this with a client where it's just so easy for us to be like, well, let me just create more content. Let me create more value because I'm not bringing in clients. And like, but if not enough people are seeing it, more content, more value literally is not the solution, right? We have to have a different solution to the problem, right? And so yes, the algorithm has changed, but it's not like because we have to understand why that's happened so that we can come up with the right solution. And so it's no longer about how much you post. It is about the quality of what you post. Don't let that freak you out. It is about the relevance, and it is about the resonance of what you post. That is what matters, because when you have something that is quality, when you have something that is relevant, and when you have something that resonates with someone, right? And I just did an Instagram story on this. I think it's important to say relevance and resonance are not the same thing as being relatable. We can have a whole different live stream conversation about that. There's a time and a place for relatability, but I think a lot of us overly try to be relatable, and it bites us in the ass in our marketing. It is about quality. It is about relevance, what is relevant to your audience, and it is about resonance, what resonates with someone, what helps someone to feel seen, heard, and understood, what helps someone to evoke emotion. That is resonance. Relevant is, oh my God, that's me, right? I feel seen, heard, and understood. Like, this speaks to me. This is what I'm looking for. Quality is, this does not sound like, hey, I just pumped out something, right? Like, this is something that I actually want to give my time to, because my time is limited, and otherwise I'm just going to scroll if this just seems like a piece of trash, and then the rest of your content is going to get stuck on the on-ramp. Right? Those are the 3 things that really matter. And it matters. I would rather, and I've just said this, I think about this myself, and I said this to a client recently. Someone else is saying post 3 times a day, right? 3 times a day where the same 20 people are seeing that and they're not the right, or you're going viral with the wrong people, literally does nothing for your business. I would rather you post 3 times a week and have a quality, relevant, resonant post that gets seen by 3 times the amount of people, or even get seen by the same amount of people, but because it is relevant and resonates and it is quality, it does more to bring in leads. That is going to bring you so much farther in 2025 and going into 2026. I think we also just have to remember, because of all of the things, and because of tech, and because of how overwhelmed people are, and because of the state of the world, and like we could just say because, right? And because of the trust recession, and, right? Because of the state of the world, because of the shutdown, right? And. People are so overwhelmed, and people have 0 attention span. And so I think we just have to remember that as well. That is why quality, that is why relevance, that is why resonance matters so much more than quantity. And again, this is not what I was saying in the past. Not that quality didn't matter in the past, but in the past, honestly, the person who posted the most kind of did win. Like, I did fire hose people so much more with content in the past. It's really easy for me to create content. That just happens to be a skill set of mine. It's easy for me. It's fun for me. I like to do it. Don't hate me if you struggle with it. It's just, I mean, I shouldn't coach on this, right? If that wasn't something that came pretty easily to me, right? And I did put out far more, because in many ways, like, that was what moved the needle. And I just don't see that moving the needle today. It is those 3 things. And I think the win here is those are things many of you naturally do when you slow down to speed up. Right, we're all just so quick when we feel like we're losing momentum, when we feel like we need leads, when we feel like we need sales. We think the way to speed up is just to like sprint. And what happens when we sprint is we naturally hit a wall and we crash and burn, and we need time to recover, as opposed to most of us need to slow down to speed up, right? Like, how can I genuinely, maybe not today's post because I was just like riding high on the feelings, but like genuinely with all of my content, what I have done is like, how do I do less better? And the way I do less better is I have had to slow down to speed up, meaning I need to slow down and pause and just be a little bit more intentional. Take a beat, think, this isn't hard. Like, I do have to stop and think a little bit more about, what am I saying? What is going to actually be relevant to my audience? What is actually going to resonate with you? As opposed to, how can I just churn through value-based content in air quotes. It does just take a little bit more intentionality, I guess, in that way. But if you are here, I know everybody in this group, those are 3 things you do really well, because those are, most of you are coaches, you're therapists, you're service providers, you're big-hearted people, you're great at building relationships, you understand your people well. Like, these are all skill sets that you naturally have. It's just about slowing down long enough to use that and apply that, versus kind of leaning into the old outdated model, which is just share more quantity, just share more value. I'm going to switch to the other rule here. Let me know if that's making sense, or if anybody has a question around that. Okay, so the other, and then I'll share I'll share some specifics just in terms of a little bit more in terms of how to do that, but I do want to talk about the other rule a little bit more. In terms of the old rule of selling directly and often, and just kind of like why that doesn't work anymore, and how I'm talking about this with clients, I think we have to remember, similarly, why that worked in the past is we were new to the online space. It wasn't so crowded. I think it was such a different time where, like, most of us, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I've been in the online space now for I've been in the online space for over a decade. I've been coaching for 11, 12 years, but I've been in business for 9.5, 10, coaching clients to 6 and 7 figures for 10 years as of March. A lot has shifted in the space. When I came into the online space, like, most people hadn't been through an email funnel. People didn't even know what the fuck a coach was. Like, the trust recession there was like, are you a pyramid scheme person because you sell online? Like, are you a scam artist? Right? We had a different kind of trust recession back then. Now it's a very, very different one. It's, are you who you say you are? And are you going to actually show up for the container? And can you actually help me? And those sorts of pieces of trust. Not to say the trust we have with ourselves and with our clients, but I think that's what we're seeing more of now. But so back then, it really, like, and we were just posting more content, and so just being very direct in your sales approach really made sense, and it was really landing for people. We were also, even going into pandemic time, we were all just sitting at home. Like, we had such a different mindset where it did feel good to just have someone tell us that they had a solution for us. We were all in such a, I think, consuming mindset as well, in terms of, like, I want to consume more content. I've got nothing to do. I want to buy courses. I want to buy masterclasses or sign up for them. Like, we were just in such a different place. I think what has shifted so much, and some of the fallout because of the trust recession, and because we've been burned by people, and because we've seen how many people are not who they say they are, I think we are just over the guru mentality and the idea that, like, someone is up on a pedestal and has all of the answers and can tell us what we're doing wrong, and that they can tell us what we're doing right. Like, I think that is just, that might have, I don't know, maybe in some of the bro marketing world that still works, but I think that was just something that there was a time where, like, I do think that actually landed a little bit more. I think people are just, as a whole, not everybody, but generally, over that. I think people don't want to be talked at. I think people are also just, we have savvier buyers and investors, and, like, people don't want to feel like they're just going through your sales funnel, right? Like, it just doesn't, I think, feel good to people at all. They want, and again, people are overwhelmed, and they want something in exchange for their time. Not to say we didn't in the past, but I just think that that is really, truly heightened. And so if that's the case, if what used to work in the past is, like, being really direct and having, like, very old school marketing promo posts, I literally used to teach the copywriting approach of PAS, problem, right? What's the problem? How do you agitate it? What's the solution? Not to say that that doesn't still work, but the way in which we're doing it really has to shift, because people just don't want to be talked at, and people don't want to be sold at anymore. But that doesn't mean people don't want to, that they're not looking for you, and that they don't want to be sold to, and that they don't want to buy. I think there's just a difference between, I think now we want to have a conversation with people and feel like we're part of it, and that we're equals, and that we're making an investment decision, versus being talked at and being sold at. Hopefully that distinction makes sense. I think, and I'll give some examples here, and just some of the ways, and, like, the 2 shifts I'm having clients make around this. But I think if we can just understand kind of, like, where that's coming from, I think just overall, again, if trust is down, what we're looking for is, we want to really feel that connection and understand the person and why that person. If AI is everything, I think we also want to understand that we are who we are buying from, and why, and how it is them, and not basically a bot. And so I think, again, that's just so we can understand, like, why these things have shifted, because then you can also start to understand why other shifts, or, like, start to notice other shifts happening for yourself. Okay, let's talk about the shifts I'm talking about with clients. Okay, so the first one is, I usually have my water and my coffee. I've got very little here. Hopefully my throat doesn't go super dry. But I think we're good. Okay, so new focus. We're going to talk through two, and I'll give you some specifics. The new focus, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it is quality and resonance and relevance over volume. And so we spoke about this already, but I just want to kind of, when I was giving the example as to why this happened, but let me just break this down a little, and then we'll talk more about the other one. Essentially here, what I'm really encouraging clients to do, and I said this earlier, I'm just going to repeat it, is really slowing down to speed up. I think it is such a mindfuck for all of us, and I think it is so frustrating when you're like, but I needed results yesterday, I want results now, why the F would I slow down? And the example I was giving to a client yesterday on a call is, many of you know, I am as my coach at the gym says, I'm an endurance athlete. I think athlete is a very generous term, but I'm an endurance person, and I've this year started weight training so that I can build up muscle and strength. And one of the biggest things I've had to learn with weight training is that the way you build muscle is not just lifting as heavy as many reps as possible, right? You do lift heavy, but you lift a certain amount with a certain amount of reps, and then you have to rest. And you go through cycles where you do, like right now I'm ironically in an endurance phase where you have 12 to 15 reps. And then we do a different phase where it's like 8 reps. And then you do a power phase where you lift as heavily as possible, and you try to get your 3 or your 1 rep max. I have a point with all of this to what we're talking about here. The heavier you lift, the more rest you need in between those reps so that your body can rest, so that you can really lift heavier. And you do that so that your body can get stronger, right? And you literally need to rest. You literally need to slow down to get stronger. If you don't do that, you'll have diminishing returns, and it's really tough to actually build muscle. You'll feel the burn. It's like if you go to a Pilates class and you do a 2-pound weight the whole class, you will feel the burn, but you probably will not build muscle. You will just feel sore. And so if you actually want to build muscle, right, if you actually want to get a result, you actually want to get stronger, you have to lift heavier, right? That's the quality. And you have to have those rest breaks in between. So bringing it back to business, and this is what I was talking about with my clients, I think we were having this conversation yesterday. I think what we forget so often is we just think if I just lift heavier, if I just do more, that'll get me results. And if I don't stop, and if I don't slow, like if I slow down, I'm going to lose results. And what I have just seen this year is the people who are scaling, the people who are winning, are slowing down to speed up. That does not mean they are not marketing. That does not mean they are not posting. That does not mean they don't care. That does not mean they're not showing up consistently. But they are slowing down with what they're doing to do less better. They are saying, maybe I do need to post 4 times instead of when I used to post 7 times a week. Or maybe I do need to post once per day instead of 2 times per day, whatever that is for them. Like maybe I do need to do a little bit less. I need to slow down so that I can really think about what is relevant to my audience. What is resonant? How can I speak in ways that is in my voice? What can I share that AI can't replicate? How can I evoke emotion? How can I connect? How can I think it is just taking the time to do that. The other thing I will just say with that relevance piece and evoking emotion, I think we just forget how powerful storytelling is, and how when we storytell, I was talking about talking with instead of talking at, how storytelling and how bringing in our own story, or how just speaking to what's relevant in the world, right, creates a way to evoke emotion and to be relevant. It's just to create, resonance. And it can be relevant, but what we have to remember is that it still needs to be relevant to you, your audience, and your work. I think where the idea of resonance and relevance, oh my gosh, all the R words. Let me know if I'm confusing anybody here with saying things that sound similar. I think what gets confused and what I've been coaching clients on, and look, I might have said something different 3 months ago, but this is right now. I think what sometimes gets confused is we try to find things that are resonant and relevant just with our people as humans, which is great and will get your content seen, but we forget to make it relevant and resonant to our work and the problem we solve and the solution we deliver. I'll use myself as an example. That post I said that went viral, that was a quality piece of content that was resonant and it was relevant to people, but it was all about politics. It was not resonant and relevant to me as a business coach, to the work I do, to why you should hire me, to understanding that I am a high-level, high-touch coach who goes deep with my clients and has been doing this for a decade and has supported countless clients to multi-six, seven figures, and that is like in the weeds with them and wants to partner with them and has really great client relationships and has people who's worked with me for 5-6 years, right? It's not going into any of that. I mean, I guess you could argue it's sharing some of my values, and that is helpful. And I got a ton of reach. I got a ton of visibility. I got thousands of comments. A lot of them were hate comments, but I got hundreds of new followers, if not thousands of new followers. I don't think a single one of them will ever become a client because most of them were following me for the political overlap, which is like, that's not bad. But what we're talking about here in terms of the type, like what is working right now in terms of bringing in leads and clients, I think this is also a place where a lot of people have gotten confused online, is they're getting the reach, right? This is almost like the other pendulum swing. They're getting the reach, but the reach isn't translating to leads and clients. And so again, quality and resonance and relevance as it relates to you and your business. And it doesn't mean you can't bring a personality or share your values. I do think there's an argument to say that is still relevant and will resonate with your audience and it's helpful for them to know who you are. But if we're looking overall at like content that is generating leads and sales, we have to still tie it back to that problem solution in our work. We still have to tie it back to why us, what we're doing. We still want to share values that are aligned to why someone would want to hire or buy from you in your program. And so all of that is so important, and that is where slowing down is so important, because it does just take more to think about that than just to say, let me just crank out another piece of how-to content, or let me just talk at people and tell them what they're doing wrong. I do think all of that just takes a little bit more. So hopefully that makes sense. I think I'm going to go on to the other one unless there's a question here, but I don't see questions. Okay, so the other shift I'm having clients make is really thinking about selling without selling, or covert sales. And I want to be really clear on what I mean. What I mean by this is not don't sell. I would still go tell a client to sell their face off. I still think if you want to sell more, sell more. I just think the way in which we go about it needs to look different if we want to have different results. And so if we are just still writing the same kinds of posts and copy and putting them up on our feed, and we're getting stuck on that on ramp, right? They're not getting reach and it's not connecting. It is not quality. It is not relevant. It is not resonating with our people. It doesn't matter how much you sell, right? You could sell 15 times a day. That's still not going to bring you in a lead or a client. It's just not even going to get seen. And so I think we just have to shift the way we're doing. And so the way I think about this is selling without selling. And it's still selling. I sell without selling all day long. I'm sure I have shared so many results and about me and my work just on this live stream alone. But I have not been like, hi, are you struggling to scale your business? Are you stuck at the 100K mark? Right? I'm being very sarcastic, but like I'm not doing old school marketing, and I'm not. Ideally, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. Hopefully, I'm not making anybody feel wrong or feeling like I'm talking at anybody. Hopefully, it feels like we're having a conversation, and I am really good at what I do, and I do help clients. And if that's something you're looking for, I want to make sure people are clear on what I do and how I could support you, and what that would look like. And so that's what I mean by selling without selling. It is making sure you are still absolutely selling, but I think it is just finding a new way to deal with that and weave in to your content and into your storytelling and into your posts. And even if you're writing a sales email or a promo post, taking more of a storytelling lens, taking more of a value-driven lens, taking more of a covert selling lens that is still absolutely speaking to your identity as a business owner, why your program, what the value is that you offer, what the problem is you solve, what the solution is that you offer, what the results are that are possible for your people, that is still bringing all of that in. It's just not following the traditional problem, agitate, solution, or what was the other one? AIDA? It was grab attention, grab interest, stoke desire, and like call to action, right? We just had these formulas in the past that, again, I think you would still use. You just have to bring and weave in more of yourself, more of your storytelling, more of who you are. And the reason for this goes back to what we were talking about before, right? We need more of that quality, resonance, and relevance. We also need more of you as the focal point, whereas before we made our audience the focal point. And that all makes sense because, again, things have just shifted. If we know the on-ramp is crowded with a bunch of AI content and stuff that isn't quality and stuff that's speaking at people and stuff that's making people wrong and stuff that people don't want to engage with, and stuff that's just fire hosing people with information that they can just get on AI, right, look up and have it be way more personalized. So they don't want that. If we're just trying to create sales posts that are similar to that, it's not that they're wrong or bad. It's just that it's just not what people are consuming right now. And you're going to get stuck on the on-ramp instead of get onto the social media highway or email. Open your inbox and read your email highway. Hopefully that example makes sense. And so again, we still want to still sell your face off. We just have to think about how do we do that in a way, how do we meet people in the conversation they're already having? What's the conversation people want to have? What is it that people actually want to consume? If someone is interested in working with you and hiring you and buying your product, what are you wanting to read and look at? Do you want to read something about everything you're doing wrong? Do you want another generic informational post that sounds like AI wrote it, that you could go onto AI and ask it something specific and get something better if you asked it a question? Probably not. Do you want another generic post that sounds like everything else online that doesn't really tell you anything? This isn't even a trust recession thing. I think it's just like, will that even grab your attention? Probably not. But if someone leads with a personal story, if someone leads with a client story, if someone leads with speaking about, a personal experience or a lesson that then leads into, or if someone leads with giving an example of how they or a client has experienced something and how that's worked for them, are you maybe going to lean in because that feels a little bit more personal? You can't get that on AI. It feels a little bit more relevant and it resonates a bit more and it probably is a little bit better quality and it doesn't sound like everybody else. You probably are just going to lean in a little bit more. So hopefully that difference makes sense. I would say that is one of the biggest differences in terms of notes I've been giving when I've been doing copy edits, in terms of shifts when we're looking at whether it's a promo post, a landing page, whether it's looking at a webinar, a sales email sequence. These are the two things we've just been looking at a lot. The other thing I would say with the selling without selling piece that I've been giving a note to a lot of clients is also just looking from the storytelling lens, right? When we go back to the quality, the relevance, and the resonance, going back to, I think what we used to do in the past is if I said, write a more storytelling or value-based sales email, most of us would hear that, at least I would have in the past, and treated that more like, let me give people information. And I just really want to harp on information is just no longer a commodity. It's not that information isn't helpful. It is just that most people will just go to AI and get really personalized information. It already was less of a commodity with Google and with so many programs. But it's just not the thing we want anymore. Truly, if you even think about your own behavior, if I think about, I consume very little. I don't consume a lot of business content. I like to try to consume content that is outside of our industry and look at other things. But if I look at there, very seldom do I want a bunch of information because it's usually not personalized and specific enough to me anyway. Maybe if there's something really specific I want to learn about, that's just not what we're looking for. What I think is so much more valuable, what I've been having clients really look at with some of their sales emails or when we're looking at their webinars, is really looking more at still having educational content. I think what gets confused is we hear no one wants information anymore. It doesn't mean people don't want information. I think they just want specific, nuanced information. They don't want something that is generic that they can just get on Google or get on AI is maybe a better way to say that. But I think that when we hear education content is dead, education content is not dead. And education sales posts are not dead. I am literally giving education right here for free. I'm doing this for your benefit, but also this is a win-win. This also is my marketing. I'm giving you a free masterclass this month that is educational, right? Educational marketing still absolutely works. We just have to think about the way in which we're educating in a different way. In the past, we fire hosed people with information. Now we have to look more at either problem awareness driven education, problem awareness driven educational sales emails, problem awareness driven educational masterclasses, teaching the what over the how, and not in a place of even hoarding information, in a place of, if I don't understand the right problem to solve, this is my job as a coach, right? My job as a coach is to help you find and spot the right problem to solve. There's a million fucking things anybody could do in their business, and the way most people burn out and don't get results is they're just solving the wrong problems and they're doing all the wrong things. My job as a coach is to help someone identify and solve the right problem in their business, to find and close the right gap, right? Like, that is just always my job. That is what problem awareness is. If it is the most valuable thing, in my opinion, it is like the first step and the most valuable thing. If I have clients who are really smart, most of them get strategy. It's not like they don't understand strategy, they don't understand their business. But what they can't do, because they're too close to their own business, is see the forest for the trees and see what's going on in their own business and either brainstorm, ideate, process, or spot the right problem, the right gap to close, right? Like, that is just something I can offer. That is value that I can offer, even if they have the information, they know the strategy. So it's kind of similar for us if we think about sales emails, if we think about content. Your audience is smart. Your audience doesn't want to be talked at, right? Maybe there is some information they need, but most of them also know where to get the information. Where they are stuck is that they don't know what questions to ask. They don't know what they don't know. They don't have awareness around the right problem to solve. That is a form of information. That is a form of education. And when they can figure that out, that changes everything. Using myself as an example, I didn't know the right problem to solve. I'm in perimenopause, right? And so I'm happy to take action and work out and to eat right. I know all the workout strategies and all the things to do, right? That wasn't my problem. I didn't understand the right problem to solve, which was my hormones are changing. So I, because of that, need to change the way I'm working out, the way I'm fueling, the way I'm resting, right? Without knowing the right problem to solve, I could do all of the things and still not get the healthy outcome I want and be really, really frustrated. And I could be really smart and I could be really willing to take action. The biggest value to me was the person who could help me have that problem awareness. So this is a long-winded way of saying, I think when we're looking at selling without selling, when we're looking at, what is the content that is getting reached, that is turning into leads and conversions, not necessarily going viral. Those are two very, very, very different things. I would not necessarily expect these sorts of things to go viral while they could. I generally think virality-driven content is very, very different than lead generation content, than nurture content, and then conversion content, because what drives virality is, they're just very different things. We can go into a whole conversation about what drives virality, but I don't know. If you're curious, you could ask me, but I don't think that's the point of this conversation. So the point here is, if we're looking at that, I don't want you to hear you can't share education. I don't want you to hear, I don't understand this now. Like, storytelling just means I'm going to randomly tell stories, or like, what do I tell stories about, or I can't sell. We're just looking at, how do we do this in a more covert way where we're having a conversation with someone? How do we do storytelling that is more problem awareness driven? How do we do education that is more problem awareness driven? How do you do a storytelling that more showcases your values, teaches people why you, helps people see the problems and results that you solve, that is relevant and resonant to them, right? That's meeting them where they're at, versus how do we talk with them and then sell and be a bit more covert, instead of just that, like, hey, do you have this problem? You're doing things wrong. I've got the solution for you. So we are still selling. We're just doing it in a more covert way, not because we're being sneaky. I think we hear the word covert. That's maybe not the best word to use. No one's being sneaky here. It's because we are actually being empathetic and aware to our audience and saying, hey, no one wants to be talked at. No one wants to be sold at. That doesn't feel good. No one wants to be told they're wrong. That doesn't feel good. Also, most of us are working with people who are smart, who are educated, who are great at what they do, right? Who have a great level of, access to information. So instead, how can we be connecting in a different way and build a relationship in a different way and be a little bit more empathetic and be talking with our people? How can we get out of that guru sales mentality? And I think that's actually hopefully a big breath of fresh air for most of you, because I think most of my clients, at least, they think they hate sales, and what they hate is manipulation and pushy sales tactics. Most of my clients actually like sales when they understand the way I think about sales is us just having a conversation with someone and helping them to get clear on what it is they want, and do they want to move towards that or away from that, and to help them make a clear decision. What is it that they want? Do they want your offer or not? Do they want to believe that this is the right problem to solve or not? Do they want to believe in your solution or not, right? Like, I'm going to sell you on my free masterclass if you think that is a problem solution that is right for you, right? Hopefully I need to help you get clear on that. And then I need to help you to decide, do you want to move towards that? Do you want to sign up, or is that not for you? Not, right? Like either way, that is all sales are. I think a lot of us think of sales as pushy and manipulation and tactics, because a lot of sales teaches that way. So I think what's really nice about what we're seeing in terms of the new rules of marketing is it's kind of the antithesis of that, right? It is not the manipulative, pushy marketing. It is really coming back more to a more heart-centered, service-based approach, a more connection-based approach, a more relationship-based approach. And so I think in many ways it is a slow down to speed up. It is a more do less better. It is a more human approach, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think that's a win for all of us. And I think oh gosh, can you hear the New York? That doesn't usually, I'm in Dumbo. That doesn't usually, that's some loud horns there. I think the other piece here that I think about that is, with the selling without selling, and we are still selling, I think just remembering I can't control the noise. I have no idea what's going on. We're just going to let people have their temper tantrum outside. Maybe they're just happy about the election. Okay, what was I saying here? Oh, okay. So what I think here is it's not about selling harder, right? I talk about scaling smarter, not harder. I'm just going to pause for that beeping. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm going to get this last sentence out, and then we're going to have to close this early. Can you all hear that? This is just wild. I will get this last sentence out. Okay, I'm just going to talk over this. So it's not about selling harder. Just like I say, it's not about scaling harder. It's about scaling smarter. It's about creating more safety and trust with our audience, right? Because that is what has been broken down. And all of that is also what helps you to get, like that goes back to the content. When we talk about quality, when we talk about resonance, we talk about relevance, that is also about creating more safety, more trust, more of a connection that people even trust you're going to have a good piece of content, that it is worth it for them to read. I'm going to lose my mind with that noise. I am so sorry, y'all. Okay, so just want to wrap this up. I think just seeing the rules of marketing have changed. If you have been, I'm just going to have to end this live stream if that doesn't stop. I'm almost like worried that there's something that's going on. All right, y'all. I was going to wrap this up with sharing some evidence here with some client results, but I think this noise is not going to work for us. So y'all, I love you. I will just say this works. I have client results okay, it did stop. I just wanted to wrap this up just to say, if you're seeing reach go down, if you're feeling like what's working isn't working anymore, the rules have changed, you're not crazy. I think just seeing it, these are very simple shifts. It's just getting used to doing this in a new way. All right, this noise will not stop. Y'all, I love you. I'm going to end our live stream. Please join me for our masterclass next week. I will say, when you follow these things, I've seen my results literally go up 3% this year, and I already have a multi-six-figure business that was thriving. So I just want that to be evidence for you that you can still absolutely win. And just because things are shifting, that doesn't mean people are going out of business. It just means things are shifting, and things will continue to shift. We got some quiet here. What has shifted now? What I'm saying today is going to shift again, and whether it's 3 months and 6 months and a year, like that is just the nature of business. But that doesn't mean that your results have to shift and that you can't continue to scale. It just means we have to understand our market and just shift with those things. All right, I love you all. I'm gonna go. Please join me for Social Currency. I will drop a link for that. Let me know if you have any questions, since we had to end this a little bit early. Bye.